Thank you very much, everybody, for joining us on the Perspective Podcast, Episode 3. This episode will be about goal setting and how to achieve those goals. I just want to say thank you very much for showing the love and support on the last 2 episodes. It's been kind of surreal for me to kind of meet a ton of new people and talk to a ton of new people and get some people's perspectives on these things that we do talk about. Today, we have a very special guest, someone that I've known for quite a while in the esports scene personally, and someone that I've worked with before in the past. Dugade, the man, the myth, the legend, the caster, the man that kind of set a trend for certain esports personalities and people in the scene from North America. Just take it away, man. We're glad to have you on the
Man,
podcast.
that was a lot of high praise right there. I'm just gonna say right now that was a little bit much. I feel a little bit overburdened now, man. That was a little bit crazy, but no, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's definitely fun to be on. I'm glad to be here. Looking forward to this. I've never been on a podcast before. I've never done anything like this really. So of course I've been on cast, but I've never done like just talking about stuff. So I'm looking forward to this experience. It should be a lot of fun. It should be a lot of fun.
So talking about life, talking about stuff, as I say, shooting the shit. It's all things that we kind of do here and there. I'm actually gonna take my glasses off because I see a really bad reflection. So solve that problem. But yeah. So I mean, today's episode, a little bit of fix up. Today's episode is going to be about goal setting. Is going to be about how to achieve those goals. What you can consider to be realistic. What you can consider to be all these different aspects that you probably don't even consider when you're starting on a journey. When you're starting on possibly this esports dream that a lot of us strive
Yeah.
towards. And I mean, coming from a lot of different backgrounds, everyone has their own different. Everyone, I mean, everyone has their own ideal dream. Everyone has what they want to do. Some people want to become a pro player. Some people want to own an org. Some people want to do all sorts of different things. And there's so many different ways to go about setting goals towards these dreams. Whether you're setting long-term goals or short-term goals, there's a lot of different things that you can do to propel yourself to reach these goals and maybe surpass other people that either even have a heads up of what you are doing in the first place. And I
Yeah,
mean,
of course. It's
you as an example is kind of just like one of those things where you set goals and you've pretty much reached them, or you're getting close to reaching them already.
Yeah, in that regards, I had a lot of things sort of fast forward at like the beginning of this year because like I thought I set like reasonable goals like get to like 1,500 like followers on Twitch, do that for Twitter as well. Twitter not there just yet, but that's fine. That's neither here nor there. And then like get like ECA partnership, get signed to an org, that sort of stuff. Try and like meet a bunch of people. That was basically the goal. I wasn't necessarily to look to do what I'm doing now. It just sort of happened, and now things are just really just going on, which has been very interesting. I pretty much have gone with the flow ever since like the beginning of this year, and now I'm in Croatia. So yeah,
Yeah,
things happen.
really, really big change. I mean, especially with COVID-19, which we'll get into
Yeah.
a little bit with, as you said,
Oh
moving
God.
all the way to Croatia. I mean,
Mm,
you made a huge change in your life. I mean, I moved from California to Michigan to attend Davenport University, and that was a huge
yeah.
culture shock and change for me because I'd only lived in London and LA, so it's a big city life to now moving out here to be honest, the middle of goddamn nowhere.
I
And
know. I know how that is.
it's the weirdest thing, and I think people don't realize, how a change in environment can affect you in its own right, never mind how it affects the things that you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. And like for me, it was like I was basically stuck at home. Like I was living with my parents for a while there, and it was like um, I was just casting just every day during COVID-19 because that was all there was really to do. Which, to be honest, it helped a lot with a lot of things, but it was pretty mentally draining when it came to that sort of thing because I was casting what 10 hours a day for like different stuff. I was really doing way too much, but it was an interesting way to really dive headfirst into everything.
Yeah, and I mean, I remember, talking to you in the past, and even doing I believe we did one or two casts in the past previously together when
Yeah.
I was doing casting just a little bit on the side as some fun that I like to do. But as you said, casting every single day whenever you could. You know, did that affect your goals? Did that change your goals a little bit when you started seeing some
No,
success?
no, I pretty much just saw the goals. I had already set them, and no, it was just things just sort of happened to me. I'll be honest. Like it just sort of like things just like spiraled into what I where I am right now. And there was a lot of ups and a lot of downs. I mean, I'll be honest. Like the 10 hours a day thing, I was probably doing that for a good 3 4 months of me just casting ESA Advanced, ESA Premier, just every day. To be honest, it got me really good at casting, which helped a lot to be where I am now. But I mean, things just sort of spiraled out of control when I was introduced to Sinners, which is a Czech esports team, which I don't know. They've been on the up and up, and pretty much I was able. I cast them once, and I was able to like sort of identify. I was like, oh, this team's about to go places. This team's about to do things. Let's see if I can jump in on this, and I did. Now I'm in Croatia. So
Right. Which I mean, when we get a little bit more deep in depth with your life and kind of your career,
yeah.
as you could say now, it's talking about Sinners and talking about you moving to Croatia is kind of a huge aspect because it's a life changing decision. It's something that not a lot of people would think about. And, you
Mm.
basically pursued this dream that you had and pursued this career that you were on the cusp of. You were right there, and pushing towards working with Sinners and becoming an ambassador for them and doing all their kind of all the stuff that you do. It really kind of put into perspective all that work that you put in and all those
Yeah.
10-hour days for those months and months and months. you know it pushed you towards making that decision. And I
Mm.
think there's a lot of things that you probably don't even realize now, but you'll look at in 10, 15 years. And even if you're not in this scene anymore, even if you're not in the industry, maybe you're not even working in esports in general or in games, you could be doing finances or whatever the reason. You'll still look back and you'll go, this was a good choice, and I chased my dream because of it. And I feel like
Yeah.
that's a good
Definitely.
thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a it's been an interesting ride so far. Of course, we can dive deeper into it, but I mean, you just sort of have to set goals, try and stick to them. If you surpass them, create new goals, and then just go on and so forth as like the year progresses. So like like for me, like I put out like a Twitter post saying this is what I want to accomplish by the end of this year, and I accomplished about all of it really. And I've just been sort of just going with like ideas that I've had and just really had a lot come from it, which has been very nice. But I mean, you just sort of have to keep at it, and if you don't, you're going to fall by the wayside. You have to really just work all the time.
Yeah, and I mean that kind of like segues really nicely into talking about what a realistic goal is and what
Mm.
a non-realistic goal is. Because there's too many times to where you can set a goal and you can set this timeline, as you could say, or technically it's like that for everyone else. But you set this timeline of these different goals that end up at this one really big goal at the very end. But you have these little goals in between, which can help you progress way better than if you go first point, last point. And
Mm.
that last point is a dream, but all the goals in between are realistic. That's what people don't realize. When you
Yeah.
talk about realistic goals against non-realistic goals, is they're actually basically just a ladder with each other. The end goal is the dream and the unrealistic goal. But if you hit all these little realistic goals before that, you'll get to that last goal. And it's super crucial for, I mean, we talked a lot in the last couple episodes about kind of preaching to these younger players because I had two esports, two advanced level oppers, kind of talking to the younger generation, whoever comes after or whatever, and it's
Yeah.
really crucial for a lot of people to understand that these goals are tangible. Goals are tangible because they're actual things that you can achieve. I don't know if tangible is the
Mm.
correct word, but there's something that you can actually, like, metaphorically anyway, you can grab a hold of and you can just do. If you want to do
Yeah.
it, you'll do
Of
it.
course.
And
Hmm.
if you are a 12, 13-year old kid looking to get into esports, looking in any game or whatever, in any industry, you know it is really important for you to understand that that dream goal is achievable by taking the right steps and not just going,
Yeah.
I'm an open player that has 120 ADR, I'm going to go pro. It's
Yeah. Of course, you can't sort of look at it like that. You do have to take those baby steps. Of course, like I can't like go from like casting like a main match to casting ESL, like an ESL
right.
event. You have to do a lot of stuff in between that to do that. You need to set those you need to set those goals to be able to like get to that level. Say start doing like small, like start with like small tournaments. Sort of like we did in '07. We did
Yeah,
some very small stuff back in the day. If I'm sure you remember that, but then like just working your way up, like go from like let's say like a $500 tournament, doing well in that, casting that into like 1,000 and up and up and up and up, and then yeah, of course, pay gets better with each one, which is quite nice. But you
of
do
course.
have to sort of look at that as the sideline. Say this is an investment of my time. This isn't me trying to make bank right now. I'm trying to invest
Right.
my time into it. So potentially I can do this full time. So, you know.
Yeah, and I mean that can be paired with, hitting those realistic goals, Everyone wants to
Yeah.
make their passion their full-time career. It's just the
Of
way
course.
that people
Of
work.
course.
It's the way that, like in my experience, the teachers that have told me that their class don't matter, which is really funny, by the way. If in high school I had two or three teachers, mostly science and history teachers, tell me that their classes don't matter because a majority of the class, maybe only one or two people, is going to go into that field, and they
Yeah.
know that those goals, those little things that you have to do, you aren't going to get rewarded for. You just aren't. But you have to do anyway
Mm,
because it's those baby steps that you talked about. It's those little things that you have to do every single day to get to the point where you are, making the money, you're rolling in it, and you're doing everything that you need to do. And,
yeah.
you'll talk to a lot of players, and especially in North America, where we have a really big drought of these orgs putting money into the scene for CSGO. I mean, we'll get into Valorant a little bit, but,
Oh
you know,
God.
it's it's awful. It's people leaving because the goals that they have are being, outdone by a paycheck, being
Yeah.
outdone by someone offering them money to do something else, whether they hate it or not. And
Yeah, of course.
in my opinion, it's, unless your situation is there to where, you are a pro player and you did just get your income for your family just blown out of the water because an org, dropped a team. Like you had High Coast leave, you had Cloud9 leave, you had like all these teams that basically, these American teams that just basically got up and left because it wasn't feasible for them. That just, I
Yeah.
mean, I think one of the big things was in Rainbow Six. I don't remember the org, but they like stopped signing their team and they wouldn't pay for their flights back home when they were stuck in Vegas or something.
Oof.
And I believe they were a Brazilian team,
Yeah.
and like to me that's dumbfounded. I would like if I owned an org that was as big as that and I had the funds to do it, I would no chance. I don't know what goes through some people's minds,
Yeah, of course.
and
Of course.
it's
I mean, it's like you have to make decisions based on certain factors, of course. But something like that is just a bit ridiculous. It's a bit out there. It's I mean, it's like there are a lot of factors when it comes to that, and it's like let's say they might, who knows, the organization might have just gone broke, and that was the biggest issue, or
I
they had
believe
an
I believe
expenditure.
I don't want to name drop, but I believe it was Luminosity, which I believe they aren't broke.
No, I don't think they're broke either.
Or
I think they're still
or
around and kicking.
I believe it was either like a team run under the Immortals Game Club banner, or
Yeah,
Luminosity. I believe it was one of those two. And I remember hearing some stuff about it being a little far
yeah,
fetched.
yeah.
But
That's a little that's a little out there. That's a little out there.
especially, but I mean, even though, like support behind your dreams is obviously one thing. You want your
Mm,
parents to believe in you, you want the people around you to believe in you. That's just how human nature works. There really is no backing behind your dreams sometimes. I mean, you could
yeah,
probably put some light into this. I could probably put some light into this as well, where, a majority of to get where we are now, I mean, I'm, at college doing all this kind of stuff and, playing for Davenport's JV team and
yeah,
trying to run this the best I can and trying to do all these little things that I need to do. There was another collegiate podcast that tried getting off the ground. I, helped them with graphic design, like all these like little things that I've done, even if I don't get paid for it, they still look good on me, and they help me towards my dream of making esports in general, doing anything in esports kind of my full-time gig. And I mean,
Yeah,
you could probably give more of a insight on that in, making
honestly,
making shit
it's fun.
happen without backing.
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, I'm sure you remember back in the day when we were working with a certain league, which I'm pretty sure I
Okay,
worked with
okay.
you on that.
I
Do you know who I'm
believe
talking about? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I
Starts with a G. Starts with a G. Yeah,
yes, I remember. Yep.
yeah. I remember trying to get the streams off the ground for that because I'm not sure why it did, but it all fell down to me pretty much to where I was the driving force behind that, and it was a huge pain. Like I had to do all the production, had to do all the observing, and then I had to like basically rope casters into doing it for free. And
Right.
that was near impossible, and it made me want to die. Like
Mhm.
that was awful. But I mean, I've got a very interesting camera glitch going on right now,
I
don't
can
I
tell.
see
Yeah,
that.
you do. Yeah. It's
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 fine on
fine.
my end. I think that's your end,
I think it might
by
be.
the way.
I don't know.
But I mean, I remember trying to get that sort of thing off the ground, and it felt near impossible, but I did it, and it's probably the only reason why I'm actually like here right now, like in Croatia, is because I pushed through that, I persevered, and I met some really cool people because of it. And like a lot of the people that I met, I still work with. Like every now and then, I'll work with one of the casters that I worked with for the first time over uh I'll bring them into stuff. I'll be like, yo, let's do this. I'll get like Squag or somebody to come back and do something
Oh,
with me.
right. Yeah.
And yeah, I absolutely love Squag. He's a fantastic caster. He just doesn't do it, and it infuriates me. But he really
Right.
should. But it's like I mean, I met a lot of cool people because of it, and because of that, I was able to get a couple of my first gigs. So, I mean, you did what you have to do, really.
I mean, yeah, it's kind of just, even without, obviously, when we get into your kind of story in a little bit, obviously we can get into, even though you're an adult, moving across the entire globe takes an awful lot of balls from you, but an awful lot of, like you're moving away from your family.
Yeah,
It's a lot on them, even if you don't realize it. I realize it even though I'm like probably like an eighth, maybe even a tenth of the distance that you are. But you know, getting all these, sacrifices and all these things to achieve this goal that you wanted to do, and that if you're a young player, like the sacrifices you have to make, and we talked about with time, like how much time you spend, like you look at these players that are at the top of their game, and you're like, oh my god, 9,000, 10,000 plus hours is a crap ton. They put in the work and they sacrifice that time to getting better to achieve the dream that you want to get. So
yeah,
if you want to do it, you want to beat them, because that's what it comes down to, is you have to be better than that person. Maybe not, simple as I will, whatever, but like to be better than the average premier player and to be better than the average pro player, you have to put in the time, you have to put in the work, and to make the sacrifices, even in
yeah,
anything. You have all these NA orgs, these smaller orgs like, CarbonX, Falc, Counter Nature, uh, Northern Forces, like I'm trying to just name Arrows. Like all these orgs are, possibly not, I don't know for certain, but aren't playing their players to represent their brand. And these players are trying to go pro and are trying to do their thing in advanced Premier, but are sacrificing possible possible payment, give or take, as leeway as you want to give that. I mean, in Europe, it's probably a lot different with how Premier Advanced works, but
yeah.
you
It's
know,
it's a lot different over here. Like this whole system is different than what we have in NA. Like there is just so much more opportunity over here. It's a bit ridiculous, honestly.
yeah, and I mean, you know, there is that kind of, scare factor. There is that kind of, you might spend, you know, like I've missed vacations with my family because of playoffs before. Even though it's only like IM playoffs, it still means something. So it's like I made that sacrifice. I remember playing in the first VCT qualifier with a group of guys that had been playing Valorant with for a while, and I missed a trip, like a road trip with my family. It's like these are some of the things that you have to do, and you have to realize that you have to do very
Yeah.
early if you want to make it work. These sacrifices and et cetera, that are going to hold you back from making these friendships, relationships,
Mm.
whatever, and are going to either improve your career or are going to help you in the future, realize that this was the right move. And I
Yeah.
mean, if you want to, if you, I mean, we could just go into Croatia right freaking now at this point because I think it's a perfect segue. Why in God's name did you move from NA to Croatia?
So let me explain this. Okay, because it's kind of complicated.
Okay.
And it's gonna be like, this is kind of strange. Why did you do it this way? And I'll be like,
Okay.
I don't know why I did it either. But so
Right.
basically, it's to sum everything up, it's because of Sinners.
Right.
So they invited me out. So they were playing an EPL, and they invited me to like do like some like recording and live streaming stuff for EPL, for like their social medias and that sort of stuff. So of course I was like going to the Czech Republic. So I found out 2 weeks before like EPL was supposed to start, and booked my flight, got things set up, and I left. And I left in A. And I've been here since August, and I was in Sinners facilities for 4 weeks in
All right.
Liberec in the Czech Republic. So I was staying in that city for a while. That was really cool. It was really cool. I met a lot of cool people. I got to meet like a bunch of the Czech scene. Got to really know some of them, and it was really good. It was really really influential in what I'm doing right now. And then like I was to a point to where I either had to go back because I needed to do some gigs for casting. I had a bunch of stuff coming up this month, and so like I either had to leave or I had to get worked out to where I could go somewhere else, cast, and have a computer that was competent enough. So I convinced the CEO of Sinners to lend me a laptop, essentially, is what I did. And like
Okay.
so basically, he got Sinners to do a sponsorship with a computer company so they could get me this laptop. And it's like a $3,000 laptop that they got me, which I thought was completely out there. I was like, it'll be something that's just good enough to cast off of and like run CS and stream. I was like, it'll be like decent specs, but no, it's got like a 3080 and like a Ryzen 9 in it. And I was like,
Wow. Okay.
it has two monitors. This is a two monitor laptop.
Two. Okay. 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 I see, Sinners. I see
It's a
you.
I was like, that's
I
crazy.
see you.
But I mean, they've helped me out ridiculously much for that. And then I was like trying to figure out where I go to stay for a little bit, stay for like this month. And then because the plan is I was in the Czech Republic, now I'm in Croatia. I'm gonna stay in Croatia for a little bit, do a bunch of the work that I need to do, and then I'm going to kick it back and travel again and go to different stuff with Sinners. So we're currently in the midst of working out a couple events for me to go to like do different recording stuff and do different live stream aspects.
Right.
So we're in the midst of like figuring that stuff out. But they but basically I'm going to be like a nomad essentially.
All
Like
right.
the way of some people described it is I am an internet gypsy that makes money wherever they can and then keeps going after that.
Right.
And I pretty much am living that life for the next couple of months. Like I've already got figured out to where I don't need to go back to NA for Christmas, which my parents
Oh.
were a little
Oh.
disappointed in,
Oh. Okay.
but
Yeah. I see you.
I've
Ooh.
applied for a bunch of jobs in December for me to like work in like a hostel in between player break. So I, I've been like figuring that sort of stuff out. So I don't know. I've just turned into a nomadic person all
You
of a
are
sudden, and
trailing on the esports fire line, my friend. That is.
yeah,
That is. Ooh. Oh
it's
man.
very strange. It's very strange. Like I don't know how I've managed it this far, but it's honestly just been thanks to Sinners. The fact that I'm still over here casting from Croatia, and then basically I was offered a room here in Split, which is the city I'm currently in, and Koi is the one that offered me the room. So
Fish
I
boy.
was Fish boy, yeah, fish boy. I'm living with him. He's in the next room. He's over there. Uh, this is my bedroom. We have like a shared living space like over here. We've been hanging out in, and like so like right now here in Croatia, it's me, Koi, and Vu all living in the same town. So I've been
Oh,
hanging out with them
nice.
pretty much every day. Which Vu is really really cool as well. Which I love them both. They're both great guys. So
Yeah,
it's been
Vu would
it's
definitely be
been
someone
interesting.
I'd like to have on the podcast. I feel like that's a really, I mean, kind of similar situation to yours with the move from NA over towards EU. For what reason, I don't know at the current moment, but
I don't know why he came over here either.
I don't
I like
either. I feel
I
like
think he just wanted out of NA to be
I,
honest.
I feel
It
like
might have
you're
been that.
right. I feel like either it was like a time zone with his content thing or with his streams, or it was
Well, no,
just like,
because he's still making all of his streams be on the NA time. So like he'll start streaming at like this time of night because it's like 11.
right,
He'll start streaming now, basically, and he'll
right,
stream late. So he's pretty much like working with the NA time zone, but he's in Croatia right now, which he has his own apartment. He was sleeping in this room actually with me for a couple days, but he's got his own apartment so he can like do his streaming thing and do his YouTube thing. But the one thing he has said to me is that he's been able to bang out a lot of videos over the past couple of days just because of the location and the fact that he doesn't have any distractions from like people I knows or family going to hang out. So he can just crack out videos, get it done, and push it out basically. So
yeah, and I
there should be some good Vu videos coming out soon, by the way.
hopefully like, I mean, obviously with the kind of the NA, you know, the NA content team that we kind of have in CS right now, where you have Vu over in EU, and someone that I've talked to recently, and someone that I hope to get on the podcast soon is Nar out here, and with the next couple with the major coming up, in a couple, I think it's like 8 or 9 days, and
Yeah, yeah.
all these people are gonna be banging out some good content. You're gonna have some.
It's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how the major does pan out. Of course, we don't got too much representation when it comes to the major this time, which is
I mean,
sorely disappointing. We got
I
a lot of
mean,
Brazilians, but
I'm a complexity fan, so it's a sore topic, but it's little rough. I'm not saying we were top 10 like 8 months ago. I'm just saying. But sorry, Jason. Um, yeah, but Sinners obviously, you know,
uh,
started out pretty recently, I believe, playing together. Obviously, with Oscar moving from Mouse Sports.
so let me think about this because
I don't want to get this wrong.
they they I don't either. That's why I'm like thinking about it now. Hold on, I'm gonna pull up their
Right.
ESEA page
Yeah. Pull up the UCA page.
because they start playing as a team in Open,
Yes. So
if
that's where
I'm
I was
not
going with this.
mistaken.
Is that correlating
Like
this to more of a dream
season 33, season
goal as
33,
right.
they 13-3'd Open, and then they won it out. They didn't win it out. They won. They did well enough to go to main, then to advanced, and then they coasted advanced for like what, like 2 seasons, and then they were a premier for a single season. So like,
Right.
and they, like 6-2 their premier season and 4-0 the postseason. So I mean, like
Right. So
just
it's
kind of
like
crazy stuff.
it's one of those things that we've been talking about where it's setting goals and having realistic goals in between the dream, and it is, I believe it's in Pro League, maybe other than one of the NA teams that just got there. No, because no, never mind. They didn't have invitations before last season with Godsend and
Yeah.
ATK. But Sinners is the newest team that have been playing together as a five in Pro League, I
Yeah.
believe. I don't think there's anyone that has had less time
I
together
I
as a
think
core.
I think they would be the newest now, and
I believe
like
so.
I'm not sure what the plan is just yet for Pro League and DreamHack and that sort of stuff. I think we're still trying to figure that out over on the Sinners camp. I was talking to the CEO about it like yesterday or whatever because I'm trying to figure out what I need to cast for them because of course I'm their caster as well. So I'm trying to figure out like what's going on. Do I need to cast like ESA Premier next season? Like what do I gotta do? What am I doing next?
Right.
And of course, they're not 100% what's going on because of course there was the EPL change recently,
Mm,
which was EPL conference.
right. With
That's the new thing, of
yeah,
course.
which
And
makes no sense.
yeah,
But
Yeah, I mean, it's another path to pro. It's more money for people, more money for the tier 2 players. So hopefully we'll see something come of it. That's going to be nice. But I mean, I don't know what's going on with it, man. I'm just sort of looking at it like this is a new thing. But I mean, like we're seeing like we're seeing like sharks, like extra salt, godsend, all get pushed up from that, from like playing in DreamHack Opens. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, that is a very good thing. So
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to hoping that it all like works out into their favor. And we'll see if that's going to be helpful for the players or if it's not going to be helpful for the players. I'm hoping it's going to be helpful for the casters because I could use some more work, and I missed an opportunity with ESL recently that I've been a bit
Oh,
mad about. To be honest, they sent me an email, it went to my junk, and I didn't see it. So you know. That's how that goes. Very disappointing. That would have been I would have exceeded my goals by a lot if I did do that ESL cast, which
because that was another thing I wanted to talk about is, you've kind of been at the forefront of casting. You've been kind of, right there for a
yeah.
long time. And recently, we've seen a couple new faces in the casting seats that,
Mm.
in my opinion, not calling anyone out in specific, Boss Snake, but, it doesn't have the experience as some of these, not as mainstream casters. I know he has quite a big following on his own. I know he has quite a, I'm pretty sure he's a streamer or something. But
Now, there's one thing I can say about this. I can touch on this sort of thing because I have friends that are like that, and like there are certain individuals that don't get picked up when others do. But it is very much not what you know; it is who you know and who you're friends with.
exactly.
Generally, in casting,
Hmm.
it's like the old boys club, which is
Right.
infuriating for someone like me that's still annoyingly trying to break into that top tier. But I to do what you have to do, and you have to meet the people that you have to meet, which is why this trip's
Right.
been absolutely fantastic. I met people from HLTV. I mean, I met Professor. I've had dinner with Professor. He's really cool, by the way. But I mean, you just sort of have to meet these people. You have to force yourself into those circles, and then eventually you'll get work from it. Like someone that I know that is trying to bring people up to that top tier that he's worked with is El Jacko. Like he's reached out to me several times trying to get me on ESL casts. He's working on that sort of thing. Is trying to bring us
Yeah.
into that top tier. So I mean, that's like pretty much what you kind of just have to meet these people. You have to get into that group if you want to break into that top tier. And because of that, you have to be like nice to everybody. You need to make sure that you're very cordial with people because hopefully those people give you work. So, like for instance, I came in contact with Kremer. I don't know if you know who that is. He's another caster. He's from England. But I came into contact with him because of Sinners because we worked on like a project a while ago. And because of him, I've had more work because he would suggest me. So you have to like meet these people and get into it. So like I'm doing Republic right now, and with Republic, of course, it's like about $120,000 tournament. It's a good tournament. It's a good sized tournament, and the only reason I'm doing it is because one of their observers, Luxar, really liked my casting from from doing a lot of the Sinners work. So he put me at the top of his list of English casters, and so I got in. And it's pretty
Right.
much like who you know, who you're friends with, and how well you guys get along. Because otherwise, it's really hard to break in. If you don't meet anybody and you're just casting like ESA Premier or you're just casting Advanced, doing nothing else, and you're not talking to anybody else, you're not going to get anywhere, unfortunately.
Right. I mean, that's kind of like how you approach a lot of different things in life in general. I mean, you
Yeah,
have, all these different jobs, and a lot of the times when if you go to these events, one of the big things that I'll usually tell people is if you go to these events and you see a pro player or just someone you recognize, whether it's someone in the stands, whether it's someone, walking through, because a lot of people don't realize is these people are people just like
yeah,
you. And, there's going to be a very, very small amount of people that will just ignore you, but it is
yeah,
a very small amount of people, and those other people that are going to ignore you are just not going to go anywhere because of the way that they are. It's as
yeah.
you were saying, be nice to everybody, but it's very much like if you see people, go and talk to them.
Yeah.
Being nice to each person and being understanding, and if someone comes up to you and says, "Hey, I like what you do, like, how are you doing?" You know, talk to them as well, because you never know. I think Kojimo on the first episode had a really good thing where it was like, you never know who you're going to run into again in the future. You just
Yeah.
don't. And whether that's with them being your boss, or them coming to you for work, you never know. And I think that's kind of one of the big things, like, I've realized, you know, setting up this podcast, especially, is talking to people that I've talked to in the past and just being like super chill about it and being like, yo, I'm doing this thing. Do you want to come on?
Yeah.
It's really easy to see. Like, this isn't a huge thing. This isn't blown out the water. This isn't a massive, Team Liquid podcast. This isn't,
Yeah, of
anything
course.
huge. It's just something that I want to do and that I'm passionate about and that I want to talk to people and let other people, listen to whatever we have to talk about. And it's like just speaking to the people that I know and the people that I've talked to that I have a good, not even a great friendship with, not even,
Mm.
not even a good one. I would just say if it's just like neutral,
Yeah.
or someone that I've talked to and they have a good impression of me, there's a very good chance so far, everyone that I've asked has said yes, surprisingly, or has said, you know, in the future 100%. And it's crazy to me to think about that. Even people that I don't know and I've never spoken to before. One of the people that, I'll kind of just shut them light is hopefully in the next couple weeks, we'll have Miss M, the IGL for ATK, coming on. We've never spoken in a million years. We have no idea. He probably has no idea who I am. I didn't know who he was until he was recommended by someone for me to have him on here. It's like a million years. But he knows people that know me. And he was like
Yeah.
100%, you know, I won't name drop this person, but, this person said you were super cool 100%. And I was like,
Yeah.
surprised, but like, yeah, that's just the way it works. It doesn't matter how, whether you're viewed as a nice guy. You
Mm.
just have to be viewed as someone that people want to work with and people understand that you're serious and that you're doing work and that you're putting in the time. And like, this is an hour, like 45 minutes to like an hour and 15 minutes is a usual podcast length, and that's probably what people would expect.
Yeah.
And it's, obviously I'm not going to like Elon Musk and the president and asking them for an hour of their time. I'm just not, because it doesn't make sense. But a lot of
Yeah.
these people have an hour, but you don't realize that these people can say no.
Yeah, of
These
course.
people can ignore you and whatever. And that's totally fine. You have to take that chip on your shoulder and move on and ask the next person. Or you have to go to the next job, or you have to put in the second application. Doesn't really matter. You just have to keep going. And, in the future, something will happen. And if you put in the work, it'll come to you. You just have to be super patient and keep putting in 100% whenever you can. Maybe even
Yeah,
110.
of course. Yeah, certainly, certainly. You have to put in a lot of effort to really get things going, and you need to have like reasonable goals to go off of. Because if you don't have those goals, you don't know what you're working towards. And like, let's say you're just like, oh, I want to get up to 100 followers on Twitter, and I want to be well known because of my play. Basically, I don't know, spam highlight clips, maybe. I don't know, do something different, do
Never
something
know.
people aren't expecting to do on Twitter. I don't know. I don't see people spamming highlight clips on Twitter. That's just a random thing I said. But I mean, I don't know. People might like that sort of stuff. I mean,
I mean, everyone likes to see a nice 5K with a deagle sometime. So,
oh, of course, of course. I mean, every now and then you just go, oh, that's good stuff. That's good stuff.
right.
You just watch it. It's like I've met people, while like traveling around, that will send me CS:GO clips. That they don't watch CS, but they start watching CS because it's like, hey, this is what I do. This is blah blah blah, and I show them some of my stuff. And like since then, I've had like several people like message me through Instagram, like, oh yeah, did you see this? And I'm like, oh god, I did see that, but yes, that's good
Yeah.
stuff. That's good stuff. And I'm just sort of like for instance, a guy I met in Prague. He's from France. He doesn't play CS. But for some reason, he watched the clip of Jame getting the op kill and then stealing the other guy's off of on Inferno. No, not Inferno. Mirage. My bad. But like it's a clip of him like stealing someone else's up and taking it away so where they can't get it. He sent me that just randomly, and I was like, "Hey, you're watching CS now?" He's like, I started watching CS because of you." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, sure."
I can very
It's
much
just
attest to that. It's like it's weird how like when you talk to people that aren't in esports
yeah,
about esports, it's it's one of these things where people are in if people like talking to you and care about you, they're going to be interested or at least look at the things that you're interested in.
yeah,
That's why Twitter implemented the people you like tweets or whatever you would call it. The algorithm where you see tweets that people that you know like or
yeah,
whatever. It's people are like that. People are just naturally curious about what their friends like. And I
mm,
mean, me and my dad have played games together for a long time. I've played MMORPGs. I've played Civ. All these games that
yeah,
we play for a long time. We have a group chat. It's like a Facebook chat with like 1,000 people in it, right? And like
mm,
when the Cadian Heroic play, the Cadian Mirage play happened,
yeah,
for them to win Pro League or whatever, that clip was posted by like two or three people adding me going, "Did you see this?"
yeah,
And it's like,
yeah,
and these are people that have spoken to maybe once or twice, and they just go, "Hey, like, what do you do?" They know my dad from work, or they know my dad from this group because like he
yeah.
owns a group or whatever, and like it's just the way that it is, and it's crazy to me how these people that I talk to, and these people that I've met once or twice and know about me, and we play games together every once in a while, and are just have these common interests where they like my interests and they see and look at what I look at, to where everything kind of comes together. And you know I don't know what I know one of them is like a hedge fund manager for like what I don't know what I know that that's his title because that's his title on Facebook, but like he's a hedge fund manager or something like that. And it's like that's a huge deal in many places across the world, but he's messaging at the time an 18-year-old kid about esports.
Yeah.
And it's like he didn't have to. He didn't need to. He didn't even need to look it up in the first place. Maybe it was months ago, maybe it was weeks ago. It doesn't matter. You know, but he took the time out of his day to look at something that he didn't know a lot about and to do research on and got interested in something that another person has a dream about. And
Yeah, of course.
it's that relationship, and it's those relationships that, as you talked about, it's who you know and how those people view you is how you get these advancements in your career. It's how you get these jobs that you dream of. And it's just as it goes. It's just
It is as it
that's
goes.
that's the baseline for what you need to do and how you need to act to reach your goals and take those smaller steps.
Yeah, of course. Of course. And I mean, like you just sort of have to like you really have to pace yourself as well. You don't want to burn yourself out. That's one thing I about did very early on was when there was a couple of months where I was doing nothing but casting. Like I'll be honest, like my day went like I would cast EU in the morning, then I would cast NA at night. And in between that, I just watch a lot of anime. And that was what my
Nice.
day held for like 3 months. And it was super unhealthy. Like, gosh,
Yeah.
but I after that, I started pacing myself a lot more. Started to be a little bit more careful about like my gigs and that sort of stuff. And that was a big pain. It was like, of course, because at that time I was like doing like a full season of ESCA for like a set fund, right? To start making a little bit of money off of
Right.
casting, but of course that's not long term. You can't do that long term. And if there is someone that does that long term, I am very sorry. That's a pain. I know it is, but it's that's like a very rough. That's a very rough existence because of course you got the whim of the player showing up or not, or like the if the
Right.
schedule might get changed last minute and then it gets moved to a day that you have another cast on. So I mean, it's like you have to be very careful about how you do that sort of stuff. But if you find yourself a nice, healthy medium like I have now, to where you're casting either every day for a couple of hours, or you're just casting like every other day for long hours, like to have like an 8 hour stream or 10 hour stream forever for whatever you're doing, right? And then having like the next day part of it off and then cast again. Like, you do what you gotta do. Like, but you have that healthy pace. And keep to those goals. Like, if you're not pacing yourself, you're gonna burn out pretty quickly.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, doing that doing that, 10-hour days as you talked about, 10-hour casting days and then anime in between, which is like a great way to pass time, but watching certain anime could piss you off surely, but um with burnout, watching CS alone and watching only CS can be, give or take, probably the worst game to watch known to man other than Fortnite. So, you know, with the introduction of Valorant, which is a dreaded topic if we're talking about if basing this off of an NACSGO podcast, talking about Valorant's basically holding kryptonite up to the microphone.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hope that I don't burn fire here, or don't ignite into fire.
Start a fire. Who
Start
knows?
a
Something's gonna go wrong.
whatever.
I
Something's
mean,
gonna go wrong. So I'm gonna get canceled on Twitter. But would you say the introduction of Valorant has, because I know for a fact that Riot does a lot for the little guy. There is
yeah.
a very obvious path about how Riot approaches casting and observing and all that kind of like esports management stuff, that they give the attention to the little guy rather than, I mean, obviously for, you have champions and you have masters and you have all these huge events, obviously they go for top dog, they go for best of the best. But for these qualifiers and stuff, there's obviously someone in charge that knows that there are these smaller casters out there, like yourself, like I can't name many off the top of my head, but there has definitely been a surge. Um, Upmind, that's who I was thinking of. Upmind, going to Valorant and getting the main gig of Masters, and then obviously came back for Frag and then went back. Obviously, he was casting the LCQ for Valorant right before it got shut down. Seeing him on stage, coming up from that grassroots, NA CS:GO stuff, like in EU, I'm obviously talking more EU. Has there been more of a approach to the little guy and approach to the the smaller casters from Riot on your end?
Uh, well, I'm not sure if it would be from Riot necessarily. I think it's more likely that there are these individual companies that were running things in the beginning, right? So like I think I'm lagging right now. I think
Yeah,
my
I
computer's
think
not having fun. I need to. Okay, I think it's gonna be good now. But I was having some issues just now. But the I think there are these third party companies that are doing stuff like NSG, for instance, gamers. Like they reached out to a lot of smaller casters to do some of their stuff. Basically, what happened? That was very early days of Valorant. Like
yeah,
I was reached out to do different stuff. Like I mean I did a tournament out of Thailand for some reason. That was a pain, but I mean like you did what you gotta do. And that was like I missed Christmas because I was doing that tournament, to be fair. But I mean like I was just like there are a lot of people reaching out to smaller guys. Like I don't know why in the world I was reached out to for this Thai tournament. Like I didn't know anyone there. Like it's just extremely random. But I mean like I think these third parties were looking for casters, and there was a wide pool for them to reach from, so they went ahead and decided to use the whole pool instead of using like the old boys club. They're basically looking for like the up and coming talent to like bring on that might be like emphasized and been put on the big stage, or like Upmine was.
right. And in that aspect, right, when you talk about these third party companies coming up and not looking at the old guys club and getting these younger casters, you know for any future casters that may one day stumble upon this, or anyone realize that well, the way that I'm going at this is with the franchise leagues obviously happening, and with the possibility of Riot franchising Valorant, and with all these different things, is there a clear path for casters to kind of take to make to the top, or observers. Obviously, we both worked with Flippy before, and like all these people that have these grassroots and these have these blue collar work ethics that work towards the top. Is there even a chance anymore? Like, is there
Uh,
a door that opens?
I don't know if there's it's like again like I was saying it is who you know and you pretty much just have to like reach out, meet people, just be like, hey, if you hear of being gigs that need any casters, just let me know, or you just get put on a similar project by a friend. And sometimes, like I remember, I couldn't figure out for the life of me how to break into the CS scene for a little bit there, but I was like, start your own thing. That's essentially what we did a while ago with a certain league that was very interestingly run. But I mean,
Right.
essentially, I was like, I saw it and I was sort of like, you know what? I'm going to do
That's it.
broadcasting for them.
Mhm.
And that's how we'll get things going. And we'll start learning about things because of that. And because of that, I learned a lot. I learned a lot of things what I should not do and what things I should do, and
Right.
who to talk to, who not to talk to. And so, I mean, you just have to, like, if there's no way for you to do it, if there's nothing that can be given to you or nothing for like a path for you to go down, make your own. Do your own thing. Like and then maybe it works out, maybe sometimes it doesn't. And you just got to try and see what you can do on your own before you throw in the towel and not do anything about it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, when you talk about creating your own path for, casting in general and, setting a goal for yourself, should there be an emphasis on multiple games like CS and Valorant? Or, like, because I know the British
Well,
guy.
that's a very dicey topic in my opinion because I can cast multiple titles, but I
Mhm.
don't work in multiple titles. Like I can cast Overwatch, I can cast Valorant, and I can cast CS:GO. But my main title is CS:GO. I think you have something you specialize in, but you also have something you can branch out in if you do decide to jump ship from another title, essentially.
Right. And I mean, we've seen casters do that in the past. We've seen casters do it recently with Bardolph going to Apex. I'm pretty sure he was on the recent
Yeah.
Apex ALGS stream, and whether that is the lack of LAN events, whether that is the lack of pay for some of these casters, you know, there's a very big there's a very big emphasis nowadays, I feel, on working with multiple titles, or if anything, as you said, having a specialty and being
Mhm.
able to do other things.
Yeah.
And
So like if I'm going to name someone that does this probably exceptionally well, it is that there's this one caster. He goes by the name of Orbital online, and he is working and traveling all of the time. Like he does just events for every single title that I could ever imagine. Like he'll do Apex, he'll do Smash, he'll do chess, he'll do CS:GO, and like he just goes through it and grinds every event that he's good. He's a very talented announcer and he's a very good commentator, but he is a jack of all trades. And if there's anyone I'm going to speak about that does it like that, it's got to be him because I've never seen anyone else go through travel for a day, cast for a medium to small event, leave, work online that night, and then rinse and repeat for days on end. And that is his life. That is what he does, and it is incredible to see.
right, and it's obviously that could be what he wants to do. That may not be the end goal, but it's what he is doing to it. Get as close to it as he can, right?
Yeah.
And obviously with you coming up through NACS and coming through ESCA and casting Premier and Advanced, to then working with was it ESL a little bit?
Republic. I've done a little bit with. I've done. I do everything. Pretty much anyone that pays me. Multiple
Right.
companies.
I'm
Yeah.
just thinking like on the come up before the EU move.
Before the EU move, I was working with multiple organizations. There was like I was working with a bunch of regional stuff. Essentially, what I was doing. So I would do like Prime League, which they do Sweden. They I would say like a lot of like closed circuit, like um regional leagues, which I don't know if people in NA know this, but regional leagues over here it's a huge thing. Like Germany, they have 99 damage. That is their big thing over there. And then in
UK, you have the
Denmark,
UK Prem, right?
yeah, they have the UK Prem, and then there are a bunch of third-party companies. Like Denmark has their own thing, and then Sweden has their own thing. Finland has their own thing, and I was working with a bunch of those companies. Essentially, is what I was doing because I reached out to them. I was like, "Hey, do you need English caster to do work?" And they're like,
Right.
"Yes, yes, we'll pay you to do that." I'm like, "Sweet."
Cool.
So, I mean, you just sort of have to like do that, and then my EU Prim streams were doing really really well as well, which was another huge thing for me. So, or like I would cast centers and then I would cast someone else, and people would find me because of different casts, and then keep watching my cast. And I was like, all right,
Right. Yeah. And I mean, like, the way that you look at it is, you set these goals for yourself. As you said, you hit
yep.
every goal that you set. You know, did the time frame about how those goals were hit, was that surprising to you?
The goals I set for the year were hit within the first 2 months of the year.
So no,
Uh,
basically.
so it was it felt a little crazy, man. Like I wasn't sure what was going on for a second there. It got rather confusing, but it was like I set some more goals and was like, all right, I want to. My hope is by the end of the year I work with ESL, but I'm not sure just yet. I've had a few opportunities and I haven't been able to do those opportunities due to external situations, a bit unfortunately. But
Junkie Mills, etc.
I had some other things. It's been interesting, but I mean, that's just the way it goes. Is you have to find these opportunities, reach out to these people, and hope for the best. Really, I mean, you just gotta try and push it. And that's what I've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, all these things kind of layer up. I think, you're one of these casters, that, eventually I feel like we'll see at Worlds, whenever that is, whatever
Yeah.
game that is, we'll see you somewhere. And, it's just living proof. I mean, we had, you know, Kojo on the first episode, kind of up and coming and, doing
Yeah.
his thing and working hard. We had Nova from the last episode, kind of talking about, how he's basically been doing the same thing, but putting all of his effort into it for too long of a time. I don't know whether you watched it, but that man has 131 main matches in a row under his belt.
Yeah.
That's more than like half the people have in all. And as you said, you have all of your hours of casting. You have hundreds and hundreds of hours of casting,
Oh yeah.
thousands maybe. And
Like I
it's
mean, I have a separate account for casting when it comes to CS, right? And I have a separate CS account, and I've clocked what 900 hours on that account, and that doesn't like include me being on VMix calls for events. So I mean, like that's 900 hours of me streaming CS from my end. So I
right.
mean, like you put in just ridiculous hours in everything you do when it comes to anything in esports, and you really have to be ready for that.
Yeah, and I mean, but as this episode is about, hitting those goals, achieving those goals,
Mm.
and just setting them in the first place. You said your goal is hitting, working with ESL and working with, a tier one organizer. Do you have any like personal goals? Do you have any kind of like non-career goals you'd be looking at?
Well, non-career. I want to be able to I want to travel, which is essentially what this trip has been about for a very large degree. Which I mean, if you're looking at it from NA, you're looking like, oh, COVID, you can't travel right now. Oh, yes, you can travel. Yeah, there are people from all over traveling right now. Like I met people from Australia, North Africa, just all over, and there are people from the U.S. traveling as well. So I mean, for me, like if you do want to go see the world, you can totally go ahead and start doing it. And basically, I saw an opportunity for me to go do it that would also align with work, and so I took it.
Right, and it's one of those situations where with the goal and the dream that you had, it aligned basically perfectly for what you wanted to do.
Yeah,
So it worked well in the end, and you know you got there and you did your thing, and you succeeded in a majority of it, I would say. And in the next chapter, the next goals that you've set, you know you have all the experience behind you. You know what to do. You know how to reach them. So,
Yeah.
in the meantime, it's just bound to happen, you know. I believe,
Yeah,
and
it
A
just
believes.
takes time. You gotta really just hope that things work out into their direction. So I mean, you just got to be ready for it and just get things going. And then when you have an option or an opportunity, you have to take it, and you have to put the hours in to get that opportunity as well.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a. I think it's actually a really good thing to end off on. I feel like that's a really good quote for kind of the whole thing.
Mhm.
Taking that opportunity. If it furthers you and you think it's the best idea, take it. See where it takes you. You'll meet people. You'll create these relationships that will help you in the future. And setting those goals. When you reach the next one, set another one. Set another
Yeah,
two even. And you know, coming from me being someone who is doing this podcast, it's like setting a goal, getting one guest and working to the next guest and, creating the best possible content. Like, I mean, we can creating the best
yeah,
possible content to get the next person, to get the next job, to, push towards the next thing. It's, everyone's working the same grind every day. And, you just gotta be better than the person to your left and to your right and the 1,000 people next to them. So it's just the way the world works. It's just the
yep,
perspective you have on it. I gotta have one every episode. It's just the way it works. But I think thank you for coming on this call all the way from Croatia.
oh yeah,
You're
no problem,
you're
no problem.
definitely the furthest away guest we have had on the podcast so far.
Yeah,
I think unless we get one of the Chinese Super League teams from the LCK or whatever. No, that's the LCK. That's the Korean one.
what is it? You could get like
No,
get
no.
the 5e people, 5e
Yeah,
arena.
someone from
That's
there. I think they might be further. I'm not sure,
Yeah,
but
no, they'd be much further. They might be much further.
I don't know.
So
I feel
yeah.
like it'd be a good thing. But yeah, just want to say thank you for coming on. It was a pleasure having you. You know,
Oh yeah, certainly. It's
with
been
your time
wonderful.
zones, it's probably time for you to go to sleep about now.
Oh yeah, it's about midnight.
All right, nice 6 hour difference. Give or
Yeah,
take,
yeah.
and just want to thank everyone once again for watching. Thank you for all the support on the podcast. This will be uploaded to YouTube as soon as possible because scheduling never really happens, never really works. It's never a strong suit of mine. So drop it a like if you're on YouTube. Give it a comment. Always appreciating feedback from everyone. If you're on the Twitter comments, I'll always take advice on next guest. Obviously, you know Counter Strike is kind of the main thing, but if there's someone you want on here from another esport, put them down. If they're a management person, put them down. That's really all that matters. And just want to say thank you once again for tuning in on Twitch on the CarbonX TV channel. And we'll see you next week at 5 p.m. on the Tuesday on the dot, or a couple minutes after if we're late. But hey, thank you very much for watching. Have a good rest of your evening. Thank you very much. Goodbye.